kitchen today. So I forgot to grab my coffee. Hold on a minute. Hope everybody is doing well. We finally got some snow. And yeah, it's all gonna be gone by this afternoon and melted. But today I want to talk a little bit on something that I've seen come up a lot in a lot of different threads. Ignore the mess behind me, sorry. But we're working on lunch while the kids play outside. So we're doing two things at once. But something I've seen come up a lot, especially lately as people have kind of transitioned into wanting to grow their own food, be more self-sufficient, start their garden, have food security is honestly what it revolves around. But with that has also kind of come a trend of people wanting to move out of the city, be by themselves, just give me my space. So the question that I've seen come up quite a bit is, do you need others to be self-sufficient? Or is self-sufficiency really just being on your own? Like literally, no help from the outside at all. And that's a double-edged sword, honestly. Yes, you can be self-sufficient in a way that you don't need much from the outside. The problem with that mentality is we're human. We were designed for others. At some point, we're going to need somebody else, another human. Like dogs are great, so are horses, but they don't fill that human connection need. Even if it's just you and your husband, or you and your significant other, you and your immediate family, at some point in time, you will need help from outside of your small unit. I am blessed in the fact that I do have a community around me. This is both virtual and physically close. And I've needed them. You will have questions along your journey that you will need to ask somebody who's maybe just a few steps ahead of you. What do you do for this? Why are my chickens doing this? Why are my plants just all of a sudden dying? You're going to need that outside help, especially as you get started and get going. Ask those questions. Build that community around yourself where you can ask those questions and get real advice. Okay? You're going to also need physical help at some point. We can't all do it all. I know social media makes it look like we do it all, but we don't. Every one of us has a support team around us. For example, last summer, so our garden produces a good chunk of our food, right? I couldn't take care of it last summer. I had to rely on my husband a lot more, and my husband, we run a farm and a feedlot. We were down a person. We were short an entire, part-time person, and we were wanting to have more help anyway. We were needing more help, so we were down basically an entire full-time person. So he was doing two people's jobs. I couldn't rely on him to do all of my jobs, which is one person's job in itself, plus his, plus another's. That's not fair to him. I had some physical limitations with a very complicated pregnancy. Not very complicated, but I had physical limitations. I couldn't lift more than 10 pounds all summer long. You know how hard it is to garden and not be able to lift more than 10 pounds all summer and into the fall? It was hard, but I had a community around me. My mom lives fairly close. My mother-in-law, bless her heart, is a wonderful, amazing godsend person. She'd come take the kids. She'd help. I could mow the lawn at least. I could sit on the riding mower, but I couldn't weed eat. I could only do so much at a time or I would start bleeding. And that's not good when you're pregnant. I couldn't harvest. The bulk of the harvest came in after I had my baby. I couldn't do it. I learned from my last pregnancy that I needed to stop and take care of myself. So I brought in friends. I brought in our outside community to help us, mostly to help me. I had somebody was coming to take care of the garden a couple times a week. Somebody was coming to feed my animals, all the critters around here. The dogs, the chickens, the horses. We didn't have any bottle calves at that point. I sent them back to the feedlot. But everything. I had other people. I took my jobs and distributed them amongst people. Also, at some point, if you're living, especially if you're living out in the middle of nowhere, which we are by no means in the middle of nowhere, but we're fairly rural. Weather happens. Make friends with your neighbors because you will need them. When weather happens, animals get out. Like, they break fences, something happens, they get scared, they run through the fence, some drunk person drives through the fence, whatever. Like, they get out. Horse gets smart and figures out how to open the gate. I got one of those. You make friends with your neighbors, right? They're gonna help you. We are blessed to have amazing neighbors as well, because my horses wind up over at their yard a lot if I don't get the gate latched correctly, or I forget they're grazing in the yard and they walk out the driveway. I just call, or they bring them home. We help them too. This goes both ways. It doesn't go one way. A lot of times he's got cows, so we help him move the cows. They help us when they're out on stalks and they need help. But his tractors are not at his house. So a lot of times we've got to come blade our driveway anyway, we just go over and blade his too. Like, it works both ways. They've brought me hay when I needed hay. We've mowed their lawn when their lawnmower broke. Give and take. Give and take. But most importantly, build that community around you. Yes, being self-sufficient sounds like an amazing, wonderful thing. To not need anybody. But you're gonna need somebody. So build that community. It doesn't have to be big, but it needs to be reliable. And you need to be able to count on each other. And be willing to help each other when you need it. That's it for today. And if you want more, there's more comments, more examples of when you will actually need somebody in this journey in the blog. Look down in the comments, it's linked. And we'll talk to you later.